My name is Adriana Vale, and tonight I am seated beneath a chandelier that looks like a frozen waterfall inside the Reeve family's country club. Crystal clinks, linen gleams, waiters glide, as if the floor itself were trained to obey. I reach for my water. Across the table, Ethan's father doesn't reach for anything. He just looks at me like I'm a stain you pretend not to see. It's admirable, Charles says, voice smooth as polished silver, how far a girl from the curb can climb. But there's a ceiling to every story, isn't there? This family is above your tier. Knives pause. Conversations thin. Someone coughs into a napkin to give the room permission to breathe. Ethan tenses beside me. My fingers rest on the stem of my glass. I don't blush. I don't blink. I let his words settle the way dust settles visible only when the light tells the truth. I fold my napkin once, precisely the way my mother taught me after 12-hour shifts, make what you touch a little cleaner than you found it. Thank you for the dinner, I say, steady. And for the clarity. A server appears with pepper. I shake my head and stand. The chair doesn't scrape. I won't give him that sound. Charles smiles the way men smile when they think they've won something they never had to fight for. At the doorway, I pass the mirrored wall that has watched generations congratulate themselves. My reflection looks back unbothered, unbroken, unbearably sure. Respect isn't a monogram you inherit. It's a ledger you earn. I take out my phone in the quiet corridor and open a blank note. Not rage. Not rebuttal. A list of facts, dates, names, the language that doesn't need permission. I won't shout. I won't beg. I won't try to fit their tier. I'll let the truth measure it. I didn't drive home that night. I drove to the waterfront Lake Washington, shimmering under soft moonlight water, moving the way thoughts do when you try to hold them still. The kind of quiet that exposes things you pretend not to feel. Growing up, my world was Union jackets, lunch pails, metal thermoses, dented from honest work. My father wired homes and hospitals. My mother checked vitals, held hands through fear and fever. Their love wasn't loud, but it held shape. Warm food on tired nights, a kiss on the forehead before bus stops at dawn. The pride of knowing where you came from. Not because it glittered, but because it meant something. It built something. So when Charles Reeve called me street tier, he wasn't insulting where I came from. He was insulting who raised me. He didn't see electricians or nurses. He saw a hierarchy and mistook wealth for worth. A waiter approached me outside the club before I left. He didn't say anything at first. He just set down a to-go container and a bottle of sparkling water. When I looked up, he simply nodded. Respect doesn't always need words. Sometimes it's hidden in small mercies from strangers who recognize dignity even when the powerful ignore it. I got in my car and drove until the city lights looked like scattered intentions. Ethan called 3 times. I let them ring. Not because I blamed him, but because I needed silence more than comfort. When he finally texted, "Tell me where you are." "I'm coming," I replied with a single word. Home. Home wasn't a place. It was a bench by the lake where I used to study between shifts in college. A place where I promised myself I'd never let anyone make me feel small enough to forget who I was. By the time I reached my apartment, a heaviness had settled, not sorrow, not humiliation, but a quiet heat in my chest, like steel cooling into shape. You don't break when someone tries to put you beneath them. You harden where they touch you. In the mirror, I didn't see a girl who'd been diminished. I saw someone who had outgrown needing approval from rooms built to keep her out. Respect isn't a gift, it's a boundary. I set my handbag on the counter, pulled my laptop close, and opened a new work folder titled simply Reeve Capital Ethics Review Prep. Not revenge, audit. Ethan showed up before sunrise, high crooked eyes, tired. He didn't knock, just stood there breathing like truth had finally caught him. He made coffee in silence, movements familiar from easier mornings. When he slid a mug toward me, his hand trembled. "I'm sorry," he said. The words carried weight, not performance. I didn't answer. Sorry doesn't fix disrespect. His apology belonged to the version of him that thought our worlds could merge without cost. He leaned on the counter. "Don't shut me out because my father is small. I'm not leaving because of you," I said. I just needed space to remember his words don't own me. Relief flickered. Tell me what you need. Truth, I said. Not comfort. He nodded. Truth, then. My father believes power excuses cruelty. If you walk away, I'll go with you. I opened my laptop. I'm not walking away. I'm documenting. He watched as I pulled up investor filings, compliance reports, whistleblower protocols. Not hacking, just seeing. You're not trying to hurt him, he said quietly. No, I murmured. I'm making him face himself. Revenge screams, accountability signs its name quietly, and I never needed to raise my voice. By Monday morning, I wore navy slacks, a white silk blouse, and resolve. My mother once said, clothes don't define worth, but they can armor your spirit. I wasn't walking into battle. I was walking into clarity. Reeve Capital's tower glittered like every ego-built monument downtown, glass pretending transparency, steel pretending strength. Buildings and people shared illusions. At reception, the assistant asked, women in finance brunch? No, I said. Guest of Charles Reeve. Her smile faltered. Security scanned my ID, matched Ethan's list, and waved me through. The son opened the door his father tried to close. In the elevator, my reflection looked back calm, certain. Ethan waited near the lounge. You don't have to do this. I do, I said. Men like him only stop when they see consequences. Charles sat with his entourage, espresso in hand, arrogance polished to a shine. He looked up unsettled. You came back. Brave. Not brave, I said. Prepared. I placed a folder before him, compliance records, ethics clauses, shareholder notes. Nothing illegal, just a mirror. His tone sharpened. What is this supposed to be, Clarity? I said. You shouldn't insult people who understand the rules protecting your empire better than you do. Executives watched him pale. Ego wounds bruise deeper than flesh. If your firm treats people like you treated me, I added softly, investors will start asking questions. Integrity still sells even if it's faked. He slammed the folder shut. You think this scares me? No, I said, but it reminds you someone finally sees you. Silence filled the room, heavy, undeniable. Ethan met my eyes, equal parts ache and awe. I didn't need to win loudly. I just needed him to understand the game had changed. I left before the shock in his eyes could harden into rage. The true victory wasn't confrontation, it was control. Walking away on my terms tasted better than any comeback ever could. Downstairs, Seattle's air carried that crisp winter bite, the kind that wakes nerves and clears illusions. I didn't stop moving until I reached Pike Place, where fishmongers shouted and tourists clutched paper cups of too hot lattes. Chaos grounded me better than silence. My phone buzzed. Ethan, he's furious. I stared at the message for a long beat before I typed back. Let him be. I bought a bouquet of white tulips from a corner stall, flowers my mother always said represented dignity. Then I walked toward a small cafe tucked between a bookstore and a jewelry repair shop, a place I used to duck into when I was hustling school rent and ambition all at once. The barista recognized me and smiled like I'd never left that version of myself behind. When I sat, a woman in a blazer took the table next to mine. She was talking to someone over Bluetooth voice, sharp words crisp like they'd cut anyone who dared interrupt her. Harassment complaint, optics disaster, board review, work language, corporate battles. The subtle war waged in tidy offices behind glass walls. It reminded me powerful men fall not from one blow but from 1,000 documented truths. I opened my laptop again, but not to dig. Today wasn't about proving anything, it was about reclaiming my narrative. I pulled up applications for a nonprofit mentorship program for first-gen students in finance. I'd always said I'd give back once I had my footing. Maybe the universe was nudging me to move sooner. Revenge is a spark. Purpose is the fire you build afterward. The door chimed, and I felt him before I saw him. Ethan sat across from me without speaking. His eyes held something complicated, hurt. Pride, fear, admiration, all tangled like string no one knew how to unknot. He's calling you reckless, Ethan said quietly. Says you embarrassed him. I didn't embarrass him, I answered. He exposed himself. Ethan rubbed his temples. He's already calling the firm's PR team. He's terrified. I've never seen him like that. I set my tulips gently on the table. People who rely on intimidation panic when they lose the room. He looked at me, then really looked. Not like a boyfriend afraid to lose someone, but like a man seeing a woman he underestimated in the best and worst ways. "Are you done?" he asked. "No," I said softly, "but I'm done proving anything to him." A pause. His voice dropped. "What about proving something to yourself?" The question didn't sting, it settled. "Exactly," I whispered, and that's why I wasn't finished yet. 2 days later, I stood on my parents' creaky porch. Same wind chimes, same ghosts. Mom opened the door and pulled me in, without a word. Her hug reminded me why the powerful fear people like us, we don't need their approval to feel whole. Dad looked up from fixing something imaginary, smiling, that quiet kind of pride. We talked about nothing, coffee weather neighbors, until he said simply, "He hurt you." "Yes. And you didn't let it slide." "Never," Mom nodded. "People like him forget who builds their world." I reminded him, I said. No details needed. They already knew. As I left, Dad murmured, "Forgiveness isn't weakness, but forgiveness without accountability, that's how cowards sleep at night." "I'm not done," I told him. He didn't smile. Steel recognizes steel. Driving back, I stopped outside Reeve Capital. Through the glass, executives whispered, faces pale. Panic moves differently in rich rooms, quiet, strategic, terrified. Charles paced with his phone smaller now, trapped in his own empire. He didn't see me. He didn't have to. Revenge isn't when they know you're winning. It's when they realize they already lost. The next morning, my phone rang. "This is Charles Reeve," he said. His voice was tight, trying for control. "I believe we got off on the wrong foot." I stayed silent. Silence makes power shift. "I may have been brash. My son values you. I would prefer harmony." "Are you calling to apologize?" I asked. A pause. "I'm calling to be practical." Investors asked questions, not remorse. Reputation. "You mistake me," I said. "I wasn't threatening you. I just held up a mirror." He bristled. "Mirrors are useless without perspective. And perspective," I replied, "is useless without humility." Finally, he said it rough, unwilling, real. "I apologize. I don't need it," I said. "I needed you to see the line you crossed." He hesitated. "I don't lose." "Everyone does," I said. "Winners just learn first." And I hung up. Ethan texted. He apologized. "How did you do that?" "By refusing to play his game," I replied. Stepping outside the cold felt clean. Revenge wasn't the climax. Power wasn't the prize. Self-respect was home. Some victories aren't loud, they just last longer. I didn't celebrate. There was no triumphant soundtrack, no cinematic fist in the air, no dramatic exit from a burning battlefield. Life rarely awards applause for the moments that shape us. It simply lets us choose who we become in the quiet after. I chose forward. That afternoon, I stood in front of a classroom of first-generation college women at a mentorship event I'd signed up for weeks before all this happened. Young faces, hungry eyes, notebooks ready like armor. They didn't know what I'd just walked through, and they didn't need to. They only needed someone to tell them the truth I learned the hard way. "You don't have to come from power to challenge it," I told them. "And you don't have to raise your voice to be heard. Sometimes the quietest woman in the room is the one who already knows her worth." They wrote it down. I smiled. Afterward, I walked along the waterfront again, same bench, same skyline, but a different me. I wasn't the girl who left a fancy dining room feeling small. I wasn't the woman standing in a glass lobby proving steel runs just as strong in working-class blood. I was someone who chose self-respect over validation. Someone who learned that revenge is temporary, but dignity is built brick by brick. My phone buzzed Ethan. "Dinner tonight. Just us." Not a plea. Not pressure. A question simple and earnest. I typed back, "Yes, because we move forward, not backward." The city lights flickered on one by one like a quiet standing ovation only I could hear. No fireworks. No headlines. Just peace earned, not granted. And sometimes that's the loudest victory of all.